Welcome to the Yes You Can podcast. In this podcast, I try to inspire your mindset to change from you can't to you can. In this episode, we're going to be diving into a personal story of mine, something that's really deep in my heart and really personal. It's what you would call in a film the inciting incident to my story. Something happened to me that made me value my work, my time, and my life just so much more. In 2019, I was diagnosed with a condition called Myasthenia Gravis, and this is a neuromuscular condition. Essentially, it affects your mind-muscle connection, so my brain, my neurons would be telling my muscle to do something, and my muscle wouldn't receive that message, and I started losing a lot of muscular function. So this is a genetic condition. It's not a virus, it's not a bacteria, it's something that my body produces naturally, and it's something that I'm born with. And let me run you through the stages I went through. So in 2019, in around August, I started having speech issues. It was very minor. It was, I had occasional slurring. My words would become a little bit less articulated. It would be harder to understand me, but I thought nothing of it because it didn't happen that much. It didn't happen that often. So from 2019 August to December, I started developing a more nasal voice. A more nasal voice means my air wasn't coming out of my throat. It was escaping through my nose. So it was hard to understand what I was saying. And then I started having difficulty swallowing. I couldn't really swallow. Chewing was difficult. But okay, I thought maybe, I'm just stressed. I'm just tired. But in 2020, my limbs became weaker and weaker. I couldn't do pull-ups anymore. I couldn't do push-ups anymore. When I went to the gym, it felt like my muscles were jelly. And I went on a hike in around March, I think. I went alone in the late afternoon. I thought it'd be a good idea. I wanted to get some air on a weekday. Hiked all the way up fine, but as I was hiking back down, my legs got weaker and weaker, and just halfway down, as I took one step, it felt like I was falling down 100 meters. My leg had no support at all. So when I stood on that one leg, I just collapsed. My legs, again, were like jelly. So I had to slowly limp my way back down, and it was 6, 7 p.m. now. It was getting a little bit late. It was getting dark. And I just had to slowly limp back onto the main road. And thankfully I made it, but it was almost pitch black when I left the hike. When I finished the hike, it was scary. Because I didn't know what my condition was at the time. I didn't know why my legs felt like that. And when I got to the main road, I sat down for a bit, and it was okay. I could walk again properly. But it wasn't just that. It was also a lot of tiny movements that became very difficult. Crossing my leg, lifting my leg to cross it, very difficult. I had to use my hand to help my leg, had to cross my leg. Moving my fingers, typing, my fingers became very stiff. Typing was really difficult. And as we approach May, July of 2020, I couldn't really smile. My face became really stiff. It was like the muscle in my face couldn't respond to smiling anymore. And my speech also progressively got worse. I didn't talk as much as I used to. And I also couldn't really eat. Couldn't really swallow. And one day I was having coffee in the afternoon. I took a sip. And instead of going down my throat, it went straight out my nose. And that happened a lot. So swallowing was really difficult. Smiling was really difficult. And then showering, washing my face was really difficult because I couldn't lift my hands up. I had to just crunch up and put my head down because that was easier than lifting my arms up. And then it got worse and worse. I started getting double vision. So that's when your vision doubles and it becomes quite blurry. And breathing was quite challenging. It was really difficult. And at that point, I think that was the lowest point in this whole journey, in this whole condition, or maybe in my life in general, not all the symptoms combined. It felt unreal. So, of course, I went to see the doctors, and I saw it as early as late 2019 in December. I went to my general doctor. He said, well, it could be a lot of things. But because your main issue is with your voice and your throat, I'm going to refer you to a ear, nose, throat doctor, ENT. And they did a few checks. They did, I think, nasoscopy, or they put a scope, a camera through my throat. They couldn't see anything. I went to see a neurologist. They did MRIs, CT scans, didn't see anything. So ultimately, I went to a speech therapist in around early 2020 to help me relearn how to swallow, how to speak with my soft palate. And that soft palate is the muscle that helps air come out your throat instead of your nose. There are lots of exercises and lots of tools to help me gain strength in those muscles, but it wasn't helping. It was getting worse. It wasn't just my throat anymore. My doctors called it dysphonia and dysphagia, and these are just fancy terms for saying something wrong with my throat and swallowing. So my doctor said, it's getting worse. Maybe you should go see your neurologist again and check for what's called Myasthenia Gravis. And we did. We did a blood test. We did a electromicrogram, another test to check your neuromuscular connection, essentially. And they discovered that it was Myasthenia Gravis all along. So basically with this disease, the more repetitive a muscle movement gets, the more difficult, the weaker it becomes. And basically, my body produces a chemical that blocks the neuromuscular junction, right? And at that time, I spent over nearly 200,000 Hong Kong dollars on doctor consultations, tests, scans, and everything. And that was when COVID was hitting the most. It was impacting me the most because I at that point, we lost all our jobs because of COVID in 2020, early 2020. And I had to pay rent and I had no other financial income. So it became really tough financially and mentally. And why was it mentally tough? I never had the victim mindset. I had a let's figure this shit out mindset. I kept researching throughout the many months to figure out what it was. And I saw Myasthenia Gravis early on. I thought it was that, but my doctor said it wasn't. But it was always at the back of my mind. I was always curious. I studied a lot of research papers. And people didn't really understand what I was going through because they just kept telling me, yo, bro, it's your mindset. You gotta tell yourself you can. I know I can. I know I can. I tell myself you can. But at that point, I couldn't. I really couldn't. I tried really hard, but they'll keep telling me it's just in your mind. You can't do a push-up, pull-up. It's in your mind. It wasn't. I knew it wasn't. And my inability to smile also impacted me on a psychological level, along with the inability to talk normally. In 2020, on my birthday, we had a big gathering. We took group photos. I was really happy. I really was. But I couldn't smile. I look back at those group photos. I look back at that moment. I felt like I looked like a monster. I couldn't smile. Everyone had such big smiles, but my smile was more like a frown. But I was trying my best to smile. I was flexing my smiling muscles so hard, but I couldn't. And that was painful. The disease is not painful. This condition is not painful. It's what it does to me psychologically that's painful. The inability to smile, the inability to share my thoughts, to talk, to eat the food I enjoy. That's painful. That's the most painful thing about this. And at moments I think the inability to smile made me less happy, even though I was happy with the people I was with the projects I had, or my life. And I became very passive, and I didn't want to talk to anyone. I became very introverted. I didn't want to talk to anyone. Didn't want to talk to my friends, my girlfriend, and my family. I just didn't want to talk to anyone because I couldn't really talk. I couldn't be understood. So I just stopped trying at one point. But I didn't give up. And this is one of the reasons why I created this podcast. So if one day I lose my voice, at least I've shared with you everything I want to. All the knowledge that I have, all the thoughts that I have, my feelings and my emotion. At least I've said it on this podcast. If one day my voice goes, there's no regret, right? So, when they first confirmed it was Myasthenia Gravis, MG, they gave me a pill called Mestinon. And this pill is almost like the pill from the movie Limitless. You take this pill, and I felt super energized. It takes around half an hour to kick in, but just like that, I felt normal. The first time I took it, I could talk properly for the first time. I could smile. I could see properly. I could sing. And those who know me, might not be a good singer, but I loved playing the piano and guitar and singing. My mom was there with me when I first took that pill, and I was able to smile again. I was immediately on the guitar singing some Coldplay, and my mom on the side, she was smiling too, but she was crying, or at least teary-eyed, because she hasn't seen me smile or sing in a year or so, and she thought that I was not happy with my family. That's why I didn't smile towards them. I didn't sing towards them, but that couldn't be further from the truth, So this pill normally lasts around 4 hours. 4 hours. And every 4 hours, I used to have to take it again. It was like a timer for me. Like my life was on a timer. My normal life was on a timer. It's almost like what's that story, Cinderella, where at midnight they have to change the costume and stuff. So every 4 hours, I would lose my ability, my superhero abilities, to be normal, to talk, to gym. So that's why I really like having a structured schedule, so I can time when to take the methadone, to go to the gym, to take client calls, to go film. So when some of my friends tell me, "Oh, everyone has 24 hours in a day. There's no excuse. You can't gym," and they know, because I literally can't without the pill, without timing it properly. It's not like I can wake up and start running and start gymming. I can't. I have to take that pill first. And aside from that, so that's a temporary solution that I take on a daily basis. Aside from that, I also take steroids. And steroids are not the steroids that you take to get jacked. It's a hormone called prednisolone, something like that. And this reduced the amount of chemical that my body produced that causes this condition. But the side effects are diabetes, decrease in bone density, decrease in immune system, your immunity, weight gain, and water retention. So my body went through a lot of changes in the past few years. Before myasthenia, I was quite fit, I think. I went to the gym almost on a daily basis. Cardio, I was pretty fit. I looked fit. Then because I couldn't eat, I couldn't gym, I got really skinny, really fast. Then with the steroids, I got bloated because I could eat again, but it caused a lot of water retention, a lot of weight gain. And then I am slowly transitioning to immunosuppressant, a cytotherapin, I think. Similarly, it reduces the chemicals my body produces that causes MG, but it can lead to hair loss and liver issues and other problems, but it's better than steroids. I also take something called Nexium and some antibiotics, and multivitamins to counteract all the side effects from the steroids and immunosuppressant. But because of these immunosuppressant and steroids, I don't need to take methadone as much, and I don't need to be as reliant on it. So without methadone, most of the time I can still talk properly, still swallow, still smile. All my main muscle, like my arms and my legs and my eyes, are perfectly fine now, even without methadone. Just sometimes when I'm really tired, talking and smiling might be a bit tough. But other than that, most of my muscle strength is 80% back. And, if I can get through this and strive and build a multi-million-dollar company while fighting this disease and still trying to make the people around me, my team and my friends, happy during this time and teach, and I really don't think anything is impossible in this world. Because now my goal is just to be happy with the things I do with my life, to help people, to eat what I like, and just to live life without regret, because this shit came onto me so sudden and I never blamed myself. I never thought I was a victim. I never went like, why is this happening to me? Because what's that going to do? Nothing. The only way I can fight this is do what I can. Be happy. And that's why I don't care about money as much now, because I just want to help people and be proud of the work I make, the work that we create as a team. Because, in the beginning when I didn't know what this was, I thought my next project can be my last project. And I want it to be as best as can be, as we can make it. If that's going to be my last project, I want it to be good. Even now, regardless of the budget, I want to make sure that the project is good, because life is so short to be mediocre. And I want to be better. And that's one of the reasons why I want to begin EuCan Foundation, to help people, because I was lucky to have the money and the resources to diagnose this condition, and to have the medicine, because a lot of people might not have the resources to diagnose, to pay for the medicine. Some people might not even have medicine that can help them with their condition. And I can only imagine if I found out about my condition a year earlier, in August of 2019, how much better my condition would be. I mean, granted, now I'm pretty fine. Like, life is pretty normal. I'm not too as affected by myasthenia, but it's still there. And I think it's more psychological that I worry one day it will take over again. I'm not in remission, but I'm almost, I think. And the side effects of the steroids and immunosuppressant isn't that bad. I had a pretty strong immune system to begin with, so I'm lucky. And I just want to thank all the friends, all the my girlfriend, my family that supported me throughout and understood what I was going through in the beginning. So I really think if I can get through this health issue, all the financial issues, and every single other thing that has been a challenge, if I can do it, you definitely can. Some people might have it worse, but I can bet if you're listening to this, you are not doing so bad. I promise you, you have no excuse to not do better, to pursue your dreams. Because one day you might not be able to. The worst thing in life is regretting not doing something. I'd rather know and fail than to regret not knowing. And I'd rather inspire than to be selfish and keep everything to myself. Because I think that's something you can leave behind in life. You can only leave behind so much money, but you can leave behind inspiration, beautiful work, relationships, connection, memories. So the moral of the story is you can do anything you put your heart into, put your mind into. There is no excuse at all about time, about resources, about fear, about failure, about rejection. There is nothing stopping you. You just have to do it because you can. Thank you for listening to my story, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Bye.